Welcome to a meeting of the minds, crafted from decades of talk show experience, an extension of the magic they've created together on radio in the phenomenon called M&M. Hot topics in the news and wisdom from life. It's Mark Davis and Mike Gallagher. This is M&M Extra.
And a good morning, everybody, on this May 27th, a Wednesday. I'm M, and that's it. It's just M, the M&M Extra template of Mike and Mark. Yeah, not today. See, Mike is on vacation, and so you may be noticing. You might have noticed yesterday. You may notice tomorrow. You may notice next week when I'm not here. There's a kind of a special edition, broader overview kind of feel to the program. Yeah, it's because Mike ain't here this week, and I'm not here next week. And you know what we did when we started this little enterprise? Seems forever ago on the May the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. That'll make it easy to remember for the rest of my life. But we said, contractually, because they had to draw up paperwork where we could do this. We said that if there's ever a day where either Mike's not here or I'm not here, there may not be one of these, because, kind of M and M, you know what I'm saying? But we have such a seething and inspiring work ethic that we just load it up. And so we're exhausted. Kidding, sort of. Headed up to Mike's vacation week, and listen, Mike may be on vacation, but that doesn't mean he can't needle me from 14 time zones away about last night's Texas results, which we will get to here in just a moment. Trust me. But we didn't want to miss any days. We really didn't. So there's all kinds of stuff, broad concepts, more than a few rabbit holes, which I think you have come to expect and we hope appreciate. So thanks for watching us. If you're watching us live right here on YouTube, appreciate that. M&M Extra. All of these podcasts then post later in the day on Apple and Spotify and Salem Podcast Network, wherever fine podcasts are found. And so that's what we've been cranking out and trying to do. So in laying this out, it was already established that this week Mike would be gone. And have you learned, and now that he's not here, can we talk? Mike is a funny cat. Have you come to understand that? And I know I am too, in my own inimitable way. But there was this one episode where he said, like, let's draw a circle on the map. It's a 12-hour flight. I'm not going to tell anybody where we are. And as soon as he said, I'm not going to tell anybody where we're going, a little ding, in 10 minutes, everybody's going to know where he is. He just can't stop himself. Mike is in Japan. Sent me a text of him standing at the bullet train station. This is a trip I got to make. I'm a fan of across the ocean. I like going across the Atlantic. I like Europe, up to a point. My wife and I are huge fans of Italy. Can't stop going to Italy. Haven't been anywhere for like 6 years. I think I got to bust it and make the Japan trip. Number one, functioning society, so I'm told. And I'm also a kind of a transportation dork. I have zero need for a lot of for rail and trains. I mean, I like Amtrak. There's something romantic about it, but they've been trying to do it in Texas. We don't want it. The thing in California is the train to nowhere. That's just stupid. But that 200 mile an hour thing from Tokyo to Kyoto, something else. So anyway, so Mike's in Japan, and nonetheless, where it is now, it's 11:05 in morning Central Time here, meaning it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. He I'm surprised he's not taunting me even now. The jet lag has him. He's up at like 5 o'clock every morning. But he said, when are you going to start listening to me? I said, I listen to you every day. Now, I told you Paxton was going to win. I said, I knew Paxton was going to win. I told you it was going to be a landslide. That he did. And some other folks did too. One of them was my good friend, State Representative Mitch Little, who worked with Ken, has been a big Ken fan, a big Ken supporter. And, and I'd have him on talking about legislative stuff. And he'd say, yeah, Ken's going to win. It's going to be a landslide. And I'd kind of go, understand. It's what a friend is supposed to say. Absolutely. Good for you for being a staunch supporter. I, like I'm a genius, took a look at this and said, it's hard to beat an incumbent. It's hard. Of course it's hard. maybe not so much this year, Bill Cassidy, Thomas Massey, and now John Cornyn, but because this was an absolute stomping. This was a beatdown. This was 28 points. Who saw that coming? There was a poll. The polls were like 4, 5, 8. And I said, that sounds about right. Even at Real Clear Politics, which is kind of an aggregate of what all the polls are saying. Then there was one that was like 10 or 12. I went, okay, all right, everybody, cool your jets. And then there was one poll literally a couple of days ago that showed like a Paxton 20-point win. I think I mocked it. I mean, not like, I think I said, like, okay, all right. It's not going to be a 20-point win. And of course it wasn't. It was nearly a 30-point win. What in the actual world? So I'm here to answer that question. So, and in so doing, we'll play a little bit of, get a little bit of clip action. It's funny because Mike talks to Eric and Tracy and Yasmin every day, which means that I get to in this environment. So here I am sitting here in Texas and they're splayed out in their various locations. So I may or may not have explained myself well. Tracy sent me a big list of cuts. The first one she sent me, which is Ken speaking graciously about Cornyn, which was very nice and very important. That's the first one I'm going to go to. And then the remaining 5 or so are the ones that I sent thereafter. Does that make sense? We'll see how this all works. So those are all coming in just a moment. So what happened? Explain this to me, Lucy. Here's the explanation. What everybody should be able to see, and that is a Republican desire for cooperative warriors, for people who are going to take a look at this Trump second term and say, look, this is all we got. I mean, it looks, I mean, he's going, there will be no third Trump term, Steve Bannon, or anybody else. And we face the pleasant prospect of a President J.D. Vance, a President Marco Rubio, the bench, Ron DeSantis going, I still exist, which he does. So we've got, unlike Democrats, we have really solid bench strength. I feel good for us post 2028. I really do. But as for Trump, his own self in the actual presidency, clock's ticking. And ain't nobody got time for this, these troublemakers and free thinkers and rogues and all this. Listen, those are lovely attributes to have in life and sometimes even in politics. But get with the program. I mean, let's go. Trump term number 1 was filled with enough troublemakers, enough naysayers, enough malcontents. I think we're good with that. Now it's time for good, reliable soldiers, and they don't have to be constant yes men or yes women or sycophant followers who are never raising a syllable of consternation. Not at all. But man, enough of the performative, self-absorbed, establishment-centric passions of the past. That ship has sailed. Since it has, and since the Cornyn era has come to such an inglorious end, he said some very good things last night. I can't imagine his pain and his people who have been there forever, which was kind of the problem. It sucks to lose. Who was I talking to about this today? Patrick Svitek, a great reporter, used to work for Texas Tribune, now works for CNN. They did well to hire him. That if you win a World Series or a Super Bowl or win the World Cup and all that good stuff that's coming, that's, sports victories are great. It's your achievement, and you did amazing things against competition. When you win in politics, when you become a mayor, when you become a governor, when you become a president, when you become a senator, that's intoxicating stuff. That is thousands, maybe millions of people who say, you know what? I want you for this lofty, honorable post. And I will get in my car and I will drive. Maybe I will raise money. Maybe I'll work a phone bank. Maybe I'll walk a block. Maybe I'll, to be the recipient, to be the repository of that kind of goodwill, it is an amazing thing. To win in politics has just got to be one of the highest highs. Now, you're not supposed to make it all about you. You're supposed to have a heart for service. And I know we get very cynical about politics, and Lord knows I do too. But I'm going to say most of the folks that I know, really know, really do have that heart for service, and it's not about them. It's about, I won, and everybody came and voted for me and donated to me and worked like the Dickens for me. But now that I've won, I turn that back around in service to you for a better Texas, a better whatever state you live in, a better America, and they do that. Here's the flip side of that coin: losing. Oh gosh, to lose. That's a bunch of people saying, "We're done with you. We don't want you." It is quite literally a rejection, maybe as vast. Listen, we've all been dumped by a girl, right, in our life. We've all been, you ladies, these days, who knows? We've all been dumped by whomever. We've been rejected by a business partner, or there's a part we didn't get in the school play, or, blah, blah. But to have thousands and millions of whatever people who they used to love me. They used to love me, says the losing politician. What happened? What did I do? Well, in this particular case, it's what did you not do? And it's not just the Save America Act, but man, that's a lot of it. Man, that's a lot of it. A lot of it. If Senator Cornyn had somehow gotten with his buddy John Thune and dragged that Save America Act across the finish line, we're probably talking about him pulling it out in the end. I don't know. Listen, 28 points. Maybe it was just time for just time. Sometimes time for folks to go. Sometimes it's just time. And we talk about the Trump endorsement. Hey, how many points was the Trump endorsement worth? I don't know, 5, 10? I don't think it was 22 or a number. If Trump had endorsed Cornyn, Paxton still would have won, and won decisively. It was just time, and that will occasionally happen. So on this admittedly really painful day for Senator Cornyn and his people and his voters, I want to say just a word about the graciousness and the friendship and the partnership that this man has shown to me on the show that I've done. I came back to my native Texas in 1994, and John Cornyn was Attorney General and then was on the Supreme Court, and before he ever became senator in 2002. There's never been a better guy in terms of just being on the show and being available to us. And I have nothing but good things to say about him on the way out. Now, that said, don't screw it up, because I also said today that he'll be a good guy on the way out. You're not going to see any Cassidy Massey mischief from Senator Cornyn. Please let me be right about that. Okay, this ought to be the first one Tracy sent me. This is Speed of Graciousness. If there's anybody who was nice to hear being gracious about John Cornyn, it was Ken Paxton last night.
Tonight, we just sent a Texas-sized message to Washington. I said it in March, and I'll say it again now. Today, change was on the ballot, and change won. Let me be clear, this is not just my win, this is your win. We just proved that this Senate seat doesn't belong to Washington. It belongs to you, the hardworking men and women of this state. We went up against $150 million and all the attacks in the world, and you know what happened? The voters declared loud and clear a simple truth that we know in our hearts and in our souls: Texas is not for sale. Now I want to take a minute to say something about Senator Cornyn. I want to thank Senator Cornyn for his service to this state. John has dedicated much of his life to serving Texas. He's worked diligently for years to help Texas, and for that spirit of service to the Lone Star State and our nation, I'm very grateful. Thank you, John. So no matter who you supported in this race, whether it was me, Senator Cornyn, or you voted for someone different in March, I want to thank every single Texan, and I want to let them know that I want to earn your support. Tonight is not the end of a campaign. Tonight is the beginning of the fight to preserve every value we hold dear. The future of Texas and the future of America is on the line, and I intend to do everything I can to expand our movement. I've won 3 statewide elections because I know how critical it is for our party to come together, and that's what we must do now. Without a shadow of a doubt, I will be the Democrats' #1 target in November.
Boy, you think, and having him go through those things, I'm actually going to skip a couple. We're going to go to number 3. Let's spend a couple of moments on Brother Tallarico. This is numbers 3 and 4. One of them involving Brother Tallarico talking. Listen, every time Tallarico talks about Jesus, Ken gets another vote, maybe another 1,000 or 2,000. Let me cover a couple of things that people said that were not true, that were scare tactics designed to get you to vote a certain way. It was Senator Cornyn's job to say, hey, vote for me. It was Attorney General Paxton's job to say, hey, vote for me. And we can see which side worked out better in by that metric. There were some on the Cornyn side of things who said that you absolutely had to vote for Senator Cornyn because to fail to do so would hand this seat to James Tallarico, that somehow Ken Paxton would uniquely require some Herculean effort of dragging him across the finish line, spending hundreds of millions of dollars that we just wouldn't have to spend. If it's Cornyn, you elect Cornyn, and it's just done. We don't have to spend a dime. We can spend it all in Michigan and various other states. What a load of crap, okay? Everybody was going to face their challenges. If Cornyn had won, if he had pulled this thing out, if he had pulled off what clearly now would have been a miracle, you know what the challenge is that he would have faced? A very beaten down, underwhelmed, under-inspired conservative voter base in Texas. It would have been like, oh, cripes. 6 more years of this? What? And my job as the unity captain would have been to drag everybody along and say, all right, listen, I know. But you know, Cornyn at his worst is way better than Tallarico on his best day. So let's, get with the program. Will Ken Paxton face some uphill battles? Sure he will. He's going to have a total target on his back, hopefully only figurative. And there's been some, yes, there was the impeachment, which was a joke, but people will hear that 90 million times. Yes, there's some personal stuff, which is true, and we all hope for redemption and healing and progress and go forth and sin no more. And in fact, a word about that. Because the other thing that from the Cornyn camp was that character is on the ballot. We think character matters. Of course, character matters. Of course it does. It does, and it always will, especially on our side. That doesn't. We would all love, the way I always phrase it, for all of our standard bearers to be wise, blemish-free philosopher kings who have walked a perfect evangelical walk. It won't always happen that way. I will tell you, I will not be lectured a lot about character by people who ever voted for Bill Clinton, who had actual sex with a person while in the Oval Office while president. So spare me the finger wagging from those of you who say that character matters so much. I do believe in redemption. I believe in progress, and I believe in people. Listen, we've got to walk that journey with Trump. Now, his billionaire playboy days are a little further back in the rearview mirror, but as person after person after person told me, they will leave Ken's personal stuff to Ken, and what they're really looking for and what matters to them, what matters in my life, people told me. They say, listen, Ken's personal stuff matters not one bit to me. Voter after voter told me. What does matter to me? Can he pass the Save America Act? It does matter to me. Will he be with Trump on the key issues that matter to Trump and that I voted for when I voted for Trump? What matters to me? Gender sanity. What matters to me? Strong borders. What matters to me? Second Amendment. And if you're with me on those things, that is the character I'm looking for. That is the kind of thing we're looking for. That is why we voted the way we did. So if you're having a tough time figuring out how yesterday happened, maybe that is of some help. And if you're wondering how November is going to go, Woke Opie, my good friend Chris Putnam, who runs an outfit called Dallas Express, I think he coined that. Woke Opie, just the best for Tallarico. This is cut 3. I think this is the one. Yeah, what you're going to see is you'll hear him. It is in Austin, in our great state capital, at a legislative hearing. And let's see. I think this is Tallarico on the. Let's see, I'm not sure which one this is. Roll number 3, and whatever it is, I'll tell you about it afterward. Go.
For me, prophetic voices like Jesus have helped me reckon with my own whiteness, my own masculinity, my own certainty, my own ego. It's a never-ending process, and it's a painful process.
It's that one. Okay, it was the other way. And so we'll get to it in the legend. That one, I'm glad to lead with that one first. Jesus has helped me deal with my own whiteness and with my own masculinity. I know. Insert your own joke here. Oh, by the way, it's been quite the bit. I've been like the, popular girl at the dance. I was on Cuomo yesterday. I was on Will Cain yesterday. It was very, very. I almost Anderson Cooper's people called it CNN. So we'll see if that ever happens. I will go on these networks that hate me. Well, here's the funny thing: they don't hate me. They hate everything I stand for. But if they'll have me on to say things that are in my head and my heart, knock yourself out. I'm there for you. Anyway, though, Brother Cuomo, who's always just been so great to me. His people are great. I'll go on that show anytime. They played the Low T Tallarico ad. James Low T Tallarico, too weak for Texas. And Cuomo says, is that the way you're going to play? Why not talk about actual issues? I said, because that is an actual issue. He's crazy. And listen, we'll talk about affordability, and we'll talk about gas prices, we'll talk about meat prices, talk about borders. It was before the Paxton landslide was made evident. I said, whoever our nominee is going to talk about those things willfully all day, every day. But if James Tallarico himself is going to say that he needed Jesus to usher him through crises involving his whiteness and his masculinity, we're going to hang those words around him like the albatross they deserve to be. So please. So speaking of the gender part, this is in a hearing, so you will not see him. Oh, but you'll hear him, and you will hear this often. Number 4.
I want us all to be aware of is that modern science obviously recognizes that there are many more than 2 biological sexes. In fact, there are 6, which honestly, Representative Hefner surprised me too. Surprised me too, because I am not well versed in this issue area. I'm not a scientist. I'm a politician. A lot worse than a scientist.
Yeah. So 6 genders. 6 genders. Now, having skewered him properly so on things that he will be skewered on, I mean, it's not going to bat for him. I believe in truth telling. Okay. He brings Obama to Texas, and they make a taco truck trip, just trying to achieve something approaching authenticity. And they got it was potato, egg, and cheese. Potato, egg, and cheese. What's missing on a potato, egg, and cheese taco? Come on, say it. The answer is meat. And everybody went, oh, he's a vegan. Okay, all right. He's not a vegan. I think at one point he said, we're ordering vegan food for the campaign for a while. So he's vegan adjacent. He may not like meat as much as I know, insert your own joke there too. But here's the thing. Potato, for those of you not in Texas, potato, egg, and cheese is a thoroughly valid taco. I will consume a potato, egg, and cheese taco. Now I'm going to follow it with triple chorizo, but so enough on that. Okay, this is cut 5. The last one we'll do, and then I'll tie a big bow around this for you on this special episode of M. And the other M, Mike, with you in the magic of tape. There is such great stuff coming in these coming days. Why? Because I was here. We were taping them. We got wonderful stuff coming for you, and then we'll all have stories when we get Mike back from Japan. I will I will needle Mike about where he is staying. Just hold on to that. We'll cover that when we cover that. But here, this is number 5. This is listen, I could talk about Brother Tallarico, but it seems like Paxton should, and here he is.
This campaign is not about red versus blue. It's about so much more. My opponent is the most extreme radical the Democrats have ever nominated. He's even running a vegan campaign, whatever that is. He goes by a few names that you may all have heard of. Some people know him as Tofu Tallarico. Some people call him Six-Gender Jimmy. I've even heard some people call him James Tallafrico. And others refer to him simply as Low T Tallarico. But no matter what you call him, let me tell you,
you are listening to the Texas Attorney General, now the projected Republican.
To break into that, so let's. Caitlin wasn't having any of that. So, this is why any hope that Democrats have, and to go back to last night on Cuomo. If there's anything, I love being on when it's just me. That's great, me and the host. But if they have, sometimes it'll be me and somebody else. They'll bring on a Democrat. They'll bring on me and a liberal person, which I love, by the way. It's always great. Let the viewers decide who's right and who's full of it. And to some viewers, I'm sure sometimes it's me. Hard though that may be to imagine. This time, my co-panelist person was a young man named Kendall Scudder, who is the state chairman of the Texas Democrat Party. Oh, bless his heart. They have got quite the uphill climb because this is their guy. And I think, honestly, if you hook them up to lie detectors and say, wasn't Jasmine Crockett probably a better candidate, that they'd say yes. And listen, I got no dog in the hunt. I mean, I'll never vote for a Democrat. So I have the gift of objectivity. I'll flat out tell you, Jasmine, she would have lost too. But and as much as Congresswoman Crockett was a fire hose of material for those of us in conservative media, I mean, she was just a quote machine. There were entire episodes of The Five given over to, hey, here's the next thing Jasmine Crockett's going to say. And I wondered aloud, is that smart? Haven't we kind of made her a rock star? And we kind of did. Conservative media, by telling America 400 times, hey, here's the, I'm quick rant. I'm so tired of seeing clips of The View. I go to lengths to avoid consuming the words of Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar. And now on the shows that I watch, it's like, hey, here's Whoopi and Joy saying Trump's the Antichrist. Great. Okay, thanks. Anyway, though, now, and I guess the key reason there is they don't matter. People in elected office actually kind of matter. So if we've got actual people who are in Congress and, high office and they are saying and doing crazy things, it is at least somewhat more meaningful. And she was a constant supply of material. But she was kind of from central casting as a squad style, fairly radical, certainly kind of mouthy Democrat social media rock star. And she had her fan base. And she had a certain style to her. I disagreed with everything she ever said, but I developed a certain grudging appreciation for her as a message delivery machine. All right. Tallarico, good Lord. Listen, he gets to be liberal. The Democrats are going to give you a leftist candidate. So he's going to be pro-abortion, and he's going to be, anti-borders, and he's going to be all those things. But the problem, especially in Texas, is that he is going to spend time telling you that Jesus thinks abortion is great. He is going to spend time telling you that Jesus believes that it's okay to carve up your kids' genitals for demonic transgender surgery. And that is going to be a stone cold deal breaker in my state of Texas. So if Cornyn had pulled this out by some miracle, yes, he would have beaten Tallarico. Do not for 1 minute believe that with this Paxton victory, especially, by the way, examining the margin by which it has happened, Please. Does my state look like a state that's not ready to go to battle against this guy? Does my state look undermotivated? Does my state look underinspired? We are inspired. We're going in. We got 5 months to take this guy down, and take this guy down we will. So, all right. I hope this was time well spent. I had a lovely time. I know that. Those of you watching live on YouTube, I'm 660 AM The Answer. That's where I do my local show, 660 AMTheAnswer.com, or get the app. M&M Extra, all the M&Ms, all the Mike and Mark gatherings on my show here in this room is where Mike joins me on my radio show every morning at 7:35 local time. That's the M&M Radio Magic, which he posts on his Twitter feed. Mike will come back with vacation stories next week. I'm here this week, but gone next week. So it'll all, once we get June underway, everybody will be where they need to be. But we've left plenty of lovely gifts for you in podcast form. So, and even when we're not here, there's still a lot to be done by Eric and by Yasmin and by Tracy. And Mike appreciates them, talks about them. I've come to know them even better under this podcast umbrella. So I really deeply appreciate those guys who help bring this to you. And as final thing, because in a kind of a Texas-centric episode of M&M, or as we call it today, I had been whining, I know, hard to believe, that this runoff election, which was such a big deal, which had so much cataclysmic power to shape the news, but my first complaint was the primary was March 3rd. We got to wait till the end of May. Jeez, right? It's forever. But then once we do, it's shoehorned in right after Memorial Day. What? And that just seemed weird. But now I look back on it and there's a certain poetry to it, because on Memorial Day, what did we do? You better have, took a moment, no matter what we were doing, buying a mattress, cooking a hot dog, watching a game, to appreciate those who have laid down their lives so that we can be free, those who have fought and died so that we can have basic rights as Americans. And then for the very next day, to have the opportunity to go out and exercise one of those most precious rights, the right to vote, it kind of worked. It kind of worked, as has today. So tomorrow you'll see it'll be M&M, back to M&M. It'll be both of us in the miracle of tape. What will we say? I know you'll learn here on M&M Extra. God bless. See you soon. And thanks for hanging out today.